Welcome to the Riders Lounge. I'm Mark Fawcett, and today we have the great pleasure and honor to have an old friend, Seth Wescott, in with us today to show us his gear. So welcome, and as I said, we have the great pleasure of having an old friend of mine, Seth Wescott, in here, two-time Olympic champion, three-time Baker 3?
Yeah, Baker 3.
Baker 3, bank slalom champ, and and we all love those.
Yes.
I mean, this will be one of the guys, I think, that'll tell you that those gold duct tape trophies, they mean as much as the gold medals, pretty much.
They do, yeah. Gold medals aren't displayed in my house, but the Baker ones are on the... Yeah.
There it is. I mean, and I got World Cup.
Yeah.
I got World Cup trophies all over. Well, not all over the place. They're all in boxes somewhere.
Yeah,
and
totally.
my duct tape's like
it's what's
upstairs, up there, like secured. I'd have it in a glass box if we could.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to just hit super quick on our history.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Eastern Canada. Seth's from Farmington, Maine.
Yeah.
Want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah, totally.
From some misty other
no.
sub-town.
I know, yeah. We were the county seat, so all the other surrounding towns went to our school, but I was from Farmington.
And Jeremy Jones and I were the first snowboarders at CVA, Carabassa Valley Academy at Sugarloaf. You're a few years younger.
Yeah.
So I remember being back there training, and they're like, "Yeah, there's this new kid, Sugarloaf. Seth, you got to see Seth." And watching you ride, and would have been mid-90s, 93?
Yeah,
94?
well, or it could have even been before. Like my first New England Cup that I did was the half pipe at Sugarloaf in '91, and I remember like you and Jeremy were both riding pipe at that time.
Gotcha.
But I even remember like being on Spillway and having sightings of you and your dad ripping down. And it was like early days, like when you were on the early K2s, and like I would, it would be like, oh, there was a Fawcett sighting. And so like, yeah, just kind of, I got to hang out with Jeremy last week over, Cass was up doing a free ride event at Blackcomb, and we were talking about it because like growing up there were two double chairs, like that from the lower part of the mountain and then going all the way up, but they were super low speed. So a lot of, I feel like snowboard learning in those days was through osmosis of like watching what other people were doing. And so having early Fawcett sightings was like the first like real carving I had ever witnessed.
And I will say it was a really unique chair because the tees were huge.
Yeah,
on them.
Super wide.
And there were chairs on both sides.
Yeah,
of it, but one tower.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One tower.
Is that still there?
No. The lower double DRC is, double runner down low is, and both of them had like one long side and one short side, so they were kind of, it was
the
funny.
The left side was short, the right side you went up further to lower...
like Kangaroo Hill and Comp Hill.
But what I remember was because of that, you could literally ride directly under the chairs uninhibited by the towers. The towers were never in your way.
Right.
So we would always we would want to inspect our lines on the way back up because we had just figured out like pencil line snowboarding then.
Totally.
So cool history, like so many great riders and friends and
and all of us, like we were lucky that you were the one who pioneered like breaking that door open for snowboarders to be able to come into the academy because it changed a lot of lives after that.
It's funny, like I wish I had that motivation now. But I remember just being like, I got to make this happen. Like I can't take no for an answer. Like this has to happen. And so anyway, I'm sort of proud of all the folks that have like come through there and such, and you being like obviously a prominent one. Going into those routes of Sugarloaf and sort of sticking with it, even though you live in Pemby. Winterstick, like the move from Southern Colorado. Winterstick moved around a bit,
it had been just outside of Telluride. At the Wagner Ski Factory. Another CVA connection that the two main owners, Tom Fremont Smith and Chris Lorenz, had owned the brand since the late 90s. And I was kind of in a transition out of World Cup and, you know, like major board sponsors that were paying. And it was an opportunity for me. Like, I had known those guys for quite a while to get involved. And so I went and kind of jumped on board around, like, I'm trying to think, the end of 2013, beginning, like that summer. And went out and spent time at the factory there and helped them kind of like redesign all the shapes and start kind of the brand up again. Like, it had kind of been sitting in a licensing agreement that Wagner had been running. And so, like, if an order came in, an order would go out, but like there wasn't active drive behind the brand. And so I was able to get those guys to kind of say, okay, yeah, we're ready to dive back in after, you know, some of the burn that they had had in the past. And so yeah, we went through like a year and a half with the Wagner factory, and then it was just apparent that we were never going to have any priority there. And I had previously been building boards with a friend in Portland, Maine, that was out of Bangor originally, that I had grown up riding with at Sugarloaf, a kid named Greg Johnsen. Cool. And he had a company that he called Team 8, which was down in Portland. And his whole concept was making every single board a custom. And so, you know, like the tail end of my racing for Kessler, I would build all my freeride boards to go to Alaska with him. And so I knew his boards were good, and I liked the ability to just retool everything. You know, like, you didn't have to, you weren't confined by the normal like aluminum cavities that you would use for your molds. He had just kind of created a way of doing it. And so he was making a couple hundred boards a year on his own that every single one, graphics included, were custom for people. And I was just like, this speaks to me in a way that it's kind of more like custom surf shaping or something, that you can really, you know, start with someone's foot size so that they're not getting toe or heel drag, and just build out from there on what someone really wants. And so
you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I know. And you know, and because of like those tail end of my racing years of working with Kessler for all those years and being able to dial in exactly the race board you wanted, to me it just made sense that, like, even if this was a bit more of a niche, it's a niche that I felt like people weren't really filling in snowboarding. And so it was an opportunity. Greg was kind of going through a life change, starting a family, and so I bought his factory off of him, and we moved it up to Sugarloaf. There's a old barn that has a chairlift coming out of it that was sitting there unused, and so I got a deal with the mountain and put the factory together in the summer of 2015, and that was coincidentally the same summer that I met my wife. So I kind of got the factory up and running, and then started doing stuff remotely, moved out here to BC. But yeah, we've been in there 10 years now, and it's good. It's cool to be able to just like tweak little things without having some huge incremental cost, and then be able to create boards that are one-offs for people that they really cherish.
And it's funny because, like, those millimeters and fractions of millimeters when you're talking core thickness and stuff, like, they matter.
It really does.
Especially to people in like super high performance.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we can do really well on production boards from the companies, but it's really hard to find exactly what you want. We're always grabbing one of those going, oh, this would be perfect. If.
Totally. Yeah, and like, you know, so much of my career of working with the big manufacturers, you know, I started with Burton, and like all my years of serious pipe riding, like Terrier's boards were too narrow for me. And so it was either just like punishing my feet or putting up with boards that weren't as dialed in for the transitions that we were riding at those times. And so I really knew that feeling of like not being able to get the equipment that you really want. And it made sense to kind of start down that path.
Awesome. And is that still sort of the MO of Winterstick? I know there's for sure there's like a production line, specific
we have our exactly, like we have our whole normal production line, all our models, and then people can either, you know, tweak those a little bit in a way that either makes it fit for them better, or if they like have a base board line that they like but they want to like move in a different direction, we allow them to do that. So yeah, we have our stock line that's in there, and then, you know, ultimately being able to just fit it perfectly to the person is what we want to try to do.
Cool. Well, Let's look at some boards.
All right.
What do we got?
So the two,
and then just bring it over.
Yeah. So the two that I brought, this was as the artwork.
Well, I can see what
shows.
that is.
Yeah, I wanted the board to know its intention was to go fast at Baker, and I think it was more my headspace this year that didn't allow it to. But this is my pro model that's kind of been ever evolving over the last decade. This is kind of the current iteration. So you see the little bit of Titanol metal in it there, and this board has won 3 of the last 5 Baker Bank slaloms, 2 under my feet and 1 under Anthony Shelley's feet. So it's proven to be a good fit there. I think I'm tweaking some stuff with a little bit tighter side cuts for the years like this when it's a tighter course so that I kind of have both ends of the spectrum to work from. But one of the other things that I went through in the last couple years is like I would have my race boards built, but trying to like baby those and just work them in with wax through the year. I didn't want to free ride with them as much. And so one of the things I did, riding Blackcomb all the time was like I added 3 centimeters of nose length to this so that it was just like a little more dialed in for float. And I made myself extras so that I would have ones to be like, okay,
of course,
if I destroy this on rocks, it doesn't matter. I need to be like riding my own shape more than I am. Because I had kind of gotten to a point where it was like, you'd get, like this thing's got the sidewalls polished. Like you'd get to the point where you're like, you put all this time and effort into it and it's like, it's perfect, but you're like, oh, I don't want to go scrape this down spankies or whatever,
100%.
So, So yeah, this is kind of where I'm at with the current issue of my pro model, and it's been a 10-year evolution to dial it in.
And so what do you consider is important? Like what are like the key design features, or even just one key feature that makes this thing that you like it for bank slalom? Baker in particular.
Well, so this would definitely be scaled more towards a slightly open course at Baker. It's a 163 with a 9 meter radius, which I'd kind of just love for everyday carving. It's like a slightly bigger turn, and it's kind of where I feel comfortable with speed. This is 15 mils of taper, so a little bit of taper, like that it'll help it float, and I'd call
that a moderate amount.
Moderate amount, yeah, I agree. But a lot of I'm also on like 20 and 30 mil tapers a bunch in my free ride board, so it's a lot.
Yeah.
But I do like that feeling of carving tapered boards and how it kind of like keeps pushing you down the fall line more than necessarily hooking back
across. Hook up at the end of the turn.
Yeah. And then, a couple like homage things, kind of the Ode to Jerry, goofy footer with the lightning bolt, and just kind of also took it to be my initials with the S and the W in the middle. Sick. And then the tail is actually traced from my 1991 Craig Kelly, the purple one, which was the last board that I rode prior to getting picked up by Burton as a kid. So
you could definitely see that.
Yeah.
And then of course the nose is from like almost like the round tail Winterstick.
Yeah, a little bit. Like a lot of what I try to do with any of the freeride boards with Winterstick is have them be a little bit paying homage to what Dimitri originally did. It's something that's going to float, and like I love that feeling, and you'll see it with the Swallowtail. Like even today at Baldface, like hitting all these crazy side hits on the cat track with a board that doesn't have a ton of actual lift in the nose, but because those lines get drawn out so much, you can climb the craziest transitions with them, and then like get your slashes on top of the cat roads and stuff. So, but yeah, just trying to have this be an all mountain board that I can go out and free ride on, and then have it be able to shine on race days at bank slaloms.
Sick. And then like I love the Titanol inlay.
The little bit of it's like all the race boards that I had always had metal in them, and it's amazing, but I didn't love like just going out and free carving on those, because like you give up so much of the playfulness of wood and like your ability to ollie in a more playful way. And so I really like that interplay of like having just enough that it's damp and holds an edge really well, but you have all that playfulness of the wood.
As soon as it takes the buzz away, it holds.
Yeah.
And then I totally agree. Like I got some Kesslers that like on icy course race situations.
They're amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then everything else,
it's a lot of board to ride every day.
Yeah, and the pop is slow.
It is.
Like it takes some of that out.
Yeah.
And like this is brilliant.
Yeah.
Hard stuff to work with. Hard to access it right now. I think.
Yeah, it is. That was why I was on last year's Baker boards this year at Baker, because we our T&L supplier ran out early this year, and I didn't get new ones prior.
There's a bit of a like North American scramble. They always figure it out.
Yeah.
But and it's kind of cool. There's actually they speak to each other, the custom builders. So I know like Evan at Kindred, he's tight with like Sean at Donick.
Yeah.
And they communicate, and I'm sure Rob communicates with them
exactly.
too. And they're like, when it's material stuff, they're like, all right, like guess we got all pay in and get like, and it comes in like a 4 metric ton roll or something.
Exactly.
Like do everyone up for like a decade if they buy it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. So some fun nerdy stuff there. This board actually has quite a bit of early rise.
It does, yeah. I mean, and I like that both from the aspect of like when you're free riding that, you know, once you're fully on rail, you have all of that engaged, but it just gives you a little more playfulness and a little more helping with your planing when you're in POW.
For sure, and just not trenching in. Like that's always the worst thing about fully cambered boards. They're getting better at it. Like I'm starting to like going towards having a little bit more camber than before, without crazy amount of early rise. But anyway, the old cambers with the old side cut line, like they just dug in, they just trenched in. It was terrible. It was one of the reasons why I and a lot of us started riding like way further back on the boards.
Exactly. Just to avoid engaging
that plow, you know, and like this thing's not gonna plow.
No,
like I can see you had your bindings almost all the way.
Yeah, I'm usually just one pack back.
Yeah. And like that's a really clean line when you lay it on edge.
Yeah.
Super clean. Cool. Let's see that.
All right. And then the one that's still dripping snow over here. So this was our.
I'm gonna take a second.
Yeah.
So this, 2 things. A, it's still wet. There might even be some snow in the bindings here. This means you're coming down from Baldface in the heli. So actively riding this thing hours ago at Baldface. Baldface is one of our top and long-term, from the very beginning, sponsors of the show. So I really want to thank Baldface. Thanks so much. Thanks for getting Wescott out there too. That was awesome. How was it up there today?
It was so good. The last 3 days, like yesterday we had some pretty good light, but it was like snowing the 2 other, like the kind of shoulder days, and snow quality was incredible. Like, you know, turn plumes just hanging in the air. And just like those tree corridors that like I haven't just had that many tree corridors of like just popping off these little pillows and like that. I don't know. It's so, to me, like one of the funnest things in snowboarding is when you actually break out of your normal daily habit of where you ride and like getting to ride things where you have no idea what's coming. So it actually puts you just in that creative mind frame and you're reacting and, you know, just kind of figuring it out as you go. But it's like, I love that feeling of like not knowing what's coming over the next roller, and it just truly puts you in the moment so well. And it's
and Baldface is great for that, because you know there's very few you're not going to run into like a 100-foot cliff on the way down. You know you can put it in 5th gear at Baldface and it's going to be good. Also, like there's very few tree jails. If you do encounter one, it's like a single line and you get around it, and it's just like you said, these like corridors and like everyone gets one. It's pretty insane.
It really is.
So again, thanks to Baldface. Want to thank Nelson Brewing Company, Stoke the Fire Hot Sauce, This Is Coffee, and Cole Headwear. So thank you, sponsors, for helping us keep this show rolling. All right, so this is what you used all 3 days?
All 3 days. Yeah, I brought 4 boards in and ended up putting a couple other people on other ones, but I just I'd been riding one of our other Swallies, which is a 168 of a shape. It's called the Aurora that Rob Kingwell designed a couple years ago, and I've been using that at the hill at Blackham a bunch, but like I hadn't had a day this year that I knew was like deep enough and that I really wanted to be on this. And like right from the first run, conditions were perfect, and I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm probably gonna be on this.
Did you bring 2 boards in the cat with you?
Not on each day, but I brought 4 boards into the lodge so that I had the, I brought a full quiver.
But you knew, like day one, you were like,
I was just like, I got to ride this. Well, and this is like our 50th anniversary Swally. It was it's 15 of 50 in a limited batch, and I hadn't gotten to ride it yet. So it had seen a bunch of wax, but it was still completely fresh. And I was just like, okay, this is the time to put bindings on it. And
it's a 173.
173.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I mean, well, not a whole lot to say about it other than like, take a look.
Yeah.
I mean, super classic. I mean, I would say, I know the one I have from 2015.
Yeah.
Mine's a 180.
Yes, yours is the 183. And so
I
changed.
Like here.
Yeah, a few years ago, I kind of redesigned it a little bit, just adding a little, like extending the side cut out in front of the front foot a little bit. Those old ones had some awkward moments, like
for sure.
When you were in total powder, it was fine, but like if you were navigating around a ski hill,
terrible on the groomers.
Terrible on the groomers.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to just kind of, it could have even been like 4 years ago now, but I was like, okay, like it's time that we kind of modernize this a little bit, keep all the float principles, the side cut principles of like, it's actually, for how big of a board it is, it rides almost like you're skateboarding. Like it's so quick and nimble, and like especially like when you start kind of riding 3-dimensionally with the tail, for how quick you can surf stuff around. But like, you can open it up and do long radius turns, or it's just amazing, especially in trees, because like there's no way you're going over the nose. It floats and planes better than anything I've ever tried. Actually, my first Swallowtail moment, and it was kind of funny because I think I was a little bit prejudiced to it because I'd known the guys for quite a while. But in 2006, I got to go do the Transworld powderboard test. And it was Brian Iguchi and I. We had like 53 shapes and a heli to ourselves at CMH Galena Lodge. And we had like 5 days. Nick Hamilton was shooting stills and Kurt Hoy was like writing the story for it. And I hadn't ridden or experimented much, like a little bit, like I tried the Burton Fish prior to that, but like I really hadn't experimented with like the full variety of board shapes out there for POW yet. And so I had actually put off riding the 183 until my last run of the trip. I think just because I was in a little bit like intimidated. I'm like, it's like a 183. It's the widest thing in the test. I just didn't get how playful it was going to be. And like, kind of kicked myself in the ass after, because I was like, oh my God, that thing was so fun. And especially in the conditions we had, it would have, like, I should have done more runs on it.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I got that board. I won that board that you guys gave me.
Yeah.
At the Bank Slalom at Sugarloaf.
Yeah.
It might have been.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It might have even been 2015.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been.
Or it was 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't ride that thing for like 5 years. It's the same sort of thing. It's sort of novel.
Right.
Anyway, we had knowing I had an epic day coming up.
Yeah.
Probably about 4 years ago, and I mounted 4 boards.
Right.
And had them all lined up at the. I got there at like 7 in the morning. So I was first in the lift line on our premium lift.
Yeah.
And set it all up, and I'm like, I'm going to try it first.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it first. Didn't even bother with the other 3 boards. I was like, oh my God. And like, we got a lot of spots here, like Baldface and others, where you do need to do some quick wiggling.
Yeah.
And holy jeez. And I think it all definitely comes from just how like nimble and pliable the tail is.
Totally.
Like it's amazing how much the tail will help or inhibit how a board starts a turn.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so I'm like, I mean, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
It's got to be good POW for me to want to
yeah.
take it out. But when it's good POW, like totally my go-to board is my 183 version of
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
And I might have to get the
Yeah, we need to give you the retooled geometry.
I think I'm gonna have to get a new one of these. Yeah. And then we had one other board that was actually, Kinger gave me this board at Baker a couple of years ago because he's a stick. And, and I'm a keg, you know? So he's like, this thing's too stiff. And I was like, this thing feels great to me. And he was like,
here you go.
There you go. So, I mean, let's pull that up just to show, more than anything, just the artistry.
Oh, totally.
Of what you do in the factory. So
So a lot of
this one's got a bit of binding rash.
Oh, totally. The wood does, but so this is 157 normal width. This was kind of like the go-to graphic up until this year, and like you can see. Like little things, like with the evolution, like I had the tail shape, but the nose shape is not what that one has evolved to yet. This is actually the shape that I won Baker on the 2 times.
And Anthony as well.
And Anthony as well,
I think he was even on this size, a 57?
I think he was on the 52. Wow. He's that small. Because I just remember watching his final run on Sunday in those upper turns, and I'm like, I just can't get there, like with my body size and like.
Trust me.
Yeah.
It's a Grom's race these last 2 years.
It has been the last couple. But same idea. And like the year that Kinger won Pro Masters, he was basically on this same shape, different graphics at that time. But
cool, beautiful work. Like
all the marquetry stuff and the woodwork to me, I love, you know, and it's. They do take on a little bit of a different life just because the wood absorbs more epoxy than plastic top sheets. So there's a very definite feel difference between the wood and the epoxy boards. Like these have a little more meat to them just because like there's that much more in there. But
we've been saying it here for the last year and a half because I mean, this is the only one. Like Jones has a bunch of boards with wood top sheets. Capita has a bunch of boards with wood top sheets, and like Vaughn, he's like totally in. It's Mother Nature's composite. You know, it's fibers. They run in a certain direction and they do certain things. And but like I just loved. I felt bad riding this board. Because I was this is one I want to put on the. Wipe it with pledge.
We can send you a fresh one for the wall.
No, we'd be stoked for sure.
And it's really fun. I mean, like, I don't know if you saw the Swally that we gave away at Baker this year, but like we've made some where, you know, like the award stand at Baker, that wall that they have. So we basically just recreated that wall with the marquetry on the board. And it's like, I mean, so many of the custom boards that we make for people come in with their idea of what they want to look at every day. And like, it's cool. It's like you see like every time I stop in at the factory, there's something that like I never would have thought of for a logo, but like you see someone's creativity put into it, and then the fact that we can just create that and pull it off for them, it's pretty cool.
Sick. And are you still doing some?
Oh, absolutely.
Wood tops?
Everything's available either way. We've actually only really just gotten to the point of being able to produce our own plastic top sheets. So that's a whole new world for us. But the majority of everything we're doing, like that all the black on that board is wood. It's just dyed.
Gotcha. There was also what I want to show. Here, I'll throw that one down. On this one was the gold leaf.
Yeah. So this
is all gold, like legit.
Yep. And
that one too.
This one too in here. And I think I would have to ask Rob, but I feel like he did the texturing on it with our laser. Because like there's a very evident pattern in it that, but yeah, it's just gorgeous. It's like you see it out in the light. And it's like it's pretty cool to.
And I know you use the CNC for a lot of the core materials because the Titanol, like those.
Yeah, we embed that just a little bit. Yeah.
Which isn't common for everyone.
Yeah.
A lot of folks just throw it on there. And it does work that way, but makes more sense.
I've never had one delaminate, and like I had Kesslers that delaminated, so it like I think like making sure that it's kind of in the bed there and bonded, it seems to work well.
Totally makes sense to me. Totally makes sense to me. And
then you know that's like one of the other things that has been really cool with our shop there is just like producing all our own cores. And like one of the things I really believe in is like as you said, like wood is also a very important component of it. And like to not have cores that have finger joints, like have everything being a full grain all the way through the board. Because it really, I don't know, to me, like the life of that, like being that it's the only living component or component of your board that was alive, like that energy that you get back from it, I really think it's important to not have breaks in that.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, like we've done stuff, you know, like ash used to traditionally be used for like longbows. And so like I did this one prototype one time, like not using the maple stringers, but using a bunch more stringers of ash in it. And it was like, it produced the craziest ollies. It was like a slow transition, but when it unloaded, it had like all this extra life in it. And so it's been fun, like just playing around with some of that stuff. But like, you know, we tore apart some snowboards, and like Greg Johnsen had done this before, and he was like the first one that had showed it to me. Like, you know, I won't name any company names, but he had torn a board apart, and it was like shocking that like, you know, I think this thing had something like 36 different finger joints in it between the core. And
so
you're
yeah,
like,
so never a piece bigger
there's
than
never
that.
a piece longer than that in the whole thing. And it's like, there's just no way for that energy to, like strength-wise, the longevity of the board, not having it break down. Because if you're relying on extra glue in all those places, like that's something that's going to fail over time versus that live element of the wood.
Live element, I mean, that's a single fiber pretty much.
Single fiber all the way through all of our cores. And it's like that as a just sense of pride. And like, I started that with a friend that I grew up skateboarding with that is a master craftsman and home builder in the area. And like, we started going, and I like originally like looking at wood and picking that, like literally just going to the lumber yard and like finding, you know, making sure that you weren't putting any crappy pieces of wood in there. And so that, I think that has really been a thing that I swear, like I feel it in my riding, but it's like that energy that is in the board because it's all a single grain, tip to tail.
And
I
you
feel
guys
like
are crushing your own cores.
Yeah,
so like
We
do the blocks and
do the whole thing, gluing them all up. Like the whole upstairs of the factory in the barn there is our woodworking shop that has all the core building.
Cool.
So,
and again, that's not super common. There's a lot. Most of the bigger players, they're getting a container full of cores from a core factory, which it's not a terrible thing.
It's not terrible, but I really believe that there is something about like looking at every piece of wood before it goes in. If there's knots, anything like that, it doesn't get in the board. And like just that level of quality control and having one person that knows how to do that and does that repetitively, that it's like that quality of that core, you know, it's going to hold up. And
then just for other equipment pieces, running some foul cores on this for free riding.
Yeah.
Cool. And then what are you running on like at Baker? What's your like this year?
This year I was still on like my ancient Burton setup.
Those are old.
I think they're probably about 07.
We were giving you crap about those in the gondola this year.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's so familiar to me that I like it, but yeah, Johan brought me 2 pairs. He brought me a pair of the Forged Carbon ones, and he brought me these foul cores to Baker, and I didn't switch the day before the race, that would have been a little quick transition, but I have really loved these bindings so far. Both the Forged Carbons and these, I feel like I've kind of got to be on a mission if I'm going to ride the Forged Carbons, because it's just so stiff that I got to go out and ride aggressively if I have those on the board, where I can ride plenty aggressively with these, but there is like a little bit more of a comfort factor with the foul cores. Honestly, like I've been on a leather binding strap for 25 years now, and this is probably the first thing where it has that kind of little bit of stretch that leather does, where like if you're going to tweak an air or something, you feel like you can maneuver the ankle. There's a little bit of a give, because I never liked just the straight plastic stuff and how you could ultimately just kind of like put your foot to sleep. And it's like, it just didn't have the right give and take for me. It's like, I want to feel just, you know, couple millimeters of give when I like am on a toe side turn. Like I just want to like play with it a little bit. I don't want it to just be dead.
Progressive resistance.
Yeah, progressive resistance, exactly. And so like I've been really happy with these bindings so far.
Sick.
Yeah,
they're great. And
they're great.
This strap is amazing.
It's so comfy.
How it does exactly what you're saying. And then I know this will be funny. What are you doing for boots? You still have a collection in your closet? When did they last make Adidas boots?
I don't know. Maybe 22 or 21? I don't even really know. Yeah, I got 7 pairs of shells, and I tried. I got the this year I got the K2 Terra to My boot. I really liked it, and I need to like get another pair because I kind of got them. Well, I got them typical of like how I fit the boot, but I did it over the internet. It was a 28.5. And the toe box in it just didn't quite have the room for me, so I started blackening my toes, and that was kind of, I'm like, okay, like, you know, I've always squeezed into boots, like I don't, you know, I'm always a size smaller than my street shoe size, and I don't want to make my boards that much wider, like I'm already, you know, that's a 270, like I'm already running pretty wide boards. So I was bummed, but the one good thing that I found out of that boot was the Intuition liners, which I had never had. And then following your cue, like I just ended up dropping in the shop in Vancouver there and grabbing a couple of other pairs of liners. I got the Tor, both in the 9 and the 12 millimeter. And those were even, like, I loved the suppleness of the one that came in the Terra to My boot, but that's one that they're producing just for K2. And so, like, they don't have something that stock off the shelf has that same kind of feel. And those, for me, actually really also, like, brought back a lot of freestyle feelings that I hadn't had in years this year. So I'm super stoked on that. But then the cool thing with the Tor was it was just enough higher that, like, getting up above the boot cuff, it had this soft yet so much more reactive heel side that I have just loved this winter. It's like that 9 mil Tor by Intuition to me is the best thing I've ever put my feet in. And yeah, they're in 7 different Adidas Adidas shells.
That's awesome.
Because I love the soles and I love the short shock absorption with those. And then I run FP insoles for that shock absorption factor too. A few years, like maybe the last time that Terry came to Baker, we were riding the chairlift one day and he was like, you know, what are you doing for your body getting older? You know, and I'm like, he's like, you got to get these knee sleeves. And then he's like, get the FPs. And so, yeah, I went down that road and like now I just have the FPs and everything. And I swear they've like made all my joints feel better.
I got to give those a try. I'm still running those A-lines.
Yeah. And I was in those for probably 15 years.
They're hard.
They're hard, yeah.
But they're great.
They are.
Hard.
And like in all my racing years, that was like the perfect fit for what I was trying to accomplish, like on the World Cup. They did their job really well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, anything else you want to mention about like gear?
Well, I mean, one of our other, like, you know, you could call it one of our credos, but everything we make is available in split. Any shape, everything is available in split. And so like my whole thought was with that was like, I didn't want to like go touring on something that I wasn't used to how it rides in a solid. And also like, there's going to be days where I go splitting that I want, you know, I don't want to just have one split that I'm using because it's super deep pow. It's like, it depends on what the conditions I'm going to find that are out there. And so
if you're one of those guys fortunate enough to own a custom board
company.
But yes.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, to me, it's been an amazing thing in my journey with splitboarding is like being able to have different shapes for different days, different amount of taper, different amount of float. And, you know, really Tom Burt was like the driver behind Winterstick starting their whole split deal back in the day. And so like, as we wanted to continue that, we just thought that that was probably at least the base thing that we should cover is that everything should be available in a split so that you can find your board that you love and then you can ride it in whatever conditions you want.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And what are you just using standard boot binding, splitting? You're not on Phantoms or anything?
No, yeah, I haven't tried any of the hard boots yet. I'm still, I'm running a pair of Karakorums. I'd been on the Hitchhikers for years. I had the kind of first generation Karakorums, but like, they tended to rattle apart on me a little bit. And so then I had switched to the Hitchhikers and was probably on those for like 8 or 9 years. And then this is like 2 years back on the Karakorums. And I think I'm on just the Grizzly, which kind of has like the slightly plastic integrated sidewalls because like I like that feeling. Like, you know, I don't know, like I've never liked metal bindings.
They feel like metal rat traps.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, like totally rideable, fine.
Yeah.
But I get it. I can always tell the feel difference.
Yeah, there's just a different feel with like, you know, with the that little bit of flex in the materials that's different than like cold metal.
Yeah,
holding
and
your
most
foot down.
Most of the companies are going with something a little different now.
Yeah.
Or at least EVA padding them all up and such. Cool. I mean, I got to say, thanks to Seth. It's been super fun. About once or twice a winter, I get to go follow this guy around at Blackcomb.
Yeah.
Legs just crying. This guy's a total beast. And again, like his resume of snowboarding accomplishments goes from like, you know, half pipe back in the day, border cross during the Swatch Tour events. You won a bunch of those, I remember. Think you won a world championship, Fizz?
Yeah, won a world championships, 4 world championship podiums, 3 silvers, 1 gold, and the 2 Olympics.
And the 2 Olympic golds, which is insane.
7 Baker podiums and 9 X Games medals.
So that's some serious stats.
I got stuck on tour too long.
Like,
I should have moved to BC earlier.
Yeah, it was a good. I mean, like really, still a pro snowboarder at 48.
Yeah, 48. Yeah.
Bravo, man.
Yeah.
Digging it.
Yeah.
Great to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
It's so cool to be in Nelson. It was so cool to come in and see the shop the other day, and then thanks to Jeff Pensiero for having us up at the lodge. That was amazing. It's my 2nd time getting here, and I need to make it an annual.
Sick.
Yeah.
I just want to shout out to Sugarloaf.
Yeah.
Love that place.
Totally.
Like,
I'm going home Thursday to put on my bank slalom next weekend. We're 14 years in with that. Sick. And really, you know, like I was fortunate that you and Jeremy paved the way there. And Sugarloaf's been like my most loyal sponsor and supporter for going on almost 30 years now. And I'm super fortunate to have grown up there and been able to help shape their snowboard scene over these last few decades as well.
Which is heavy. It's cool there.
Yeah.
Like great mountain, even better vibes. Like, when you're there, like I had my para team there, and they were like, "This place is amazing. Like everyone's stoked, and like just the whole like everything excluding the mountain. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
and it's cool. It's like the academy's come a long way, and that just keeps like creating next generations, and it's fun being older now to like look at it in a lot of different ways. But I was back there about a month ago helping the owner of the mountain host a group of people that had never been there, that were all like very well traveled skiers, and we had as good as grooming conditions ever get, and it was like I got to take them out early for like the first hour of the day with patrol for 3 days in a row, and like just opened some people's eyes to like how good it can be back there. It was really fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, thanks, bro.
Super good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, always.
Cheers. Thanks again for watching the Riders Lounge. Until next time, please click that like and subscribe. If you have friends, get them to subscribe. Like that's our big thing. Our big goal right now is getting more people subscribed onto the channel. And hey, thanks again for watching.